wanting to try and pressure LWX, put him on something he's less comfortable on. The Viego, the Xin and the Ziggs banned away by FPX. And we could have a Renekton first pick here for V5. It feels like a while since I've seen a Renekton first pick.
Yeah, it's funny because it had such a high presence as well in the beginning of it, but it is just due to the nature of both it being banned away, but also due to the fact that a lot of other champions just have risen in priority. And I feel like Thresh, also one of the champions that supports that's up and available. Gwen still up and available if that's something you want to put your hands on. But here in the LPL, we have been very fond of Olaf. This early game brawling potential is something that a lot of junglers have taken a liking to. And once again, this early game productivity, Olaf is a champion that just facilitates that.
Yeah, he certainly is. It's, as you're saying, becoming one of the most popular junglers, especially once Xin Zhao is taken off of the table. But we also have the Gwen locked in for Nuguri. We've seen him be able to completely take over games with that Gwen pick. PZX debating what jungle pick he wants to go for, but instead they're going to transition over, grab the Ashe up for Kepler, a utility AD carry that hasn't been the most popular, but with these two AD carry bans in, it explains what the thought process was.
Yeah, you can clearly see that they're coming in with a game plan here where they can potentially put the Ashe as a weak starter to play for, and then they lock in the Diana as well. I feel like this is a really good damage adaptation to come through from your top side of the map, because you have 80 damage to come through from the Renekton, you have the setup as well, and then you have the Diana that can come in with the AP damage instead. But on the side of FPX, so they opt in for that aggressive support, and once again, the most played support we had in the LPL here is this Leona to be locked in. And now they can try and remove some of the disengage. Now they can try and remove some of these champions that can keep an Ashe safe. So they're taking away the Braum, and it wouldn't surprise me if they took away the Thresh as well.
Certainly could be an option here. Just saying, Zyra, the Ashe Zyra, that was always the classic insane bot lane alongside the Ashe. The poke is just insane. It still works in solo queue. I don't know whether it works in the LPL. But the Braum removed away. That Freljord lane just so insanely obnoxious. Silas banned though by V5 on the other side. They're trying to whittle down Doinb's pool a little bit, but I feel like he's one of those players it's really difficult to ban out.
Yeah, he definitely is. He's actually not the player with the most played mid lane champions, but the thing is, it's just the champions he's got has such a different style to him, right? Like, he's even opted in for the control mages as well. I feel like this year, especially Doinb, really expanded his champion pool from what he had beforehand as well, where he did so well on champions like the Lee Sin as well when that came into meta. So it is just an incredible variety of champions. And of course now, with the AD carry not picked yet, you can't just save that last pick for Doinb or the flexibility of the Gwen. So they're going to opt in to do that, and then the Rise to come through from Uniboy. Rise is a champion that has had an immense priority for a lot of mid laners as well, especially in this season. But Lucian is still up and could be paired into it.
Yeah, Rise currently Uniboy's most played champion as well, so it makes a lot of sense for them to lock it in, as well as a Trundle as the last pick here. You have to assume for PZX in the jungle. Up against that Olaf, you can take away the stats as the Ragnarok comes in, and it makes it a lot more difficult for Tian to run into the middle of a fight. Now just the counter pick for this mid lane for Doinb.
Seems like he's trying to think of what he wants to do. Do we handshake the control mate matchup, or do we keep it aggressive and play for the lane with Irelia instead? Not a lot of mobility on the champions of V5 either, so if you get a snowball on the side of FPX, it's super easy to run a lot of these champions down. But what I'm looking at here is the Trundle into the Leona matchup that we have seen rise a lot, especially with the Imperial Mandate on the Trundle as well. It's a pick that specifically came around with all this priority on Leona, where as soon as she starts her W active, as soon as she gets the Aftershock proc, then Trundle just ults her and he becomes an incredible tanky troll, where Leona just lose half of her resistance close to.
Yeah, I forgot that we had the Diana jungle locked in as well, because it's so long since we've seen the Diana jungle. It feels like it really fell out of popularity. You're right. They banned the Braum, but the Freljord lane comes through regardless. The Trundle coming in to facilitate this Ashe, and you're right, being able to steal away, especially when the Aftershock is on. That is a terrifying combo. Let's talk holistically though, because it feels like V5 have drafted a composition here that it may not be meta, it may not be standard, but it has a very clear identity.
I think so as well. You can play for the top side of the map. You got the pick potential. You can actually create a lot of ground with your team composition as well, because you'll have the crystalline arrow that gives you a lot of CC from long range, but you also have the pillar to play around with that's good disengage and good into the Olaf as well. Like, this Trundle pick actually has a lot of value. It's good into the Leona by stealing away her resistances, and it's good into the Olaf when he runs into you to just completely nullify him as well. Especially with the pillar as well, to try and stop him from coming towards you. Obviously he's unstoppable, but if he runs into a pillar, he runs into a pillar, and he'll have to navigate around it. So that's going to be the thing.
We'll see if V5 can pull off this strategy there, as we see the Shenzhen skyline stylized artistically. Very nice there behind the teams, as it's going to be V5 on our blue side, FPX on our red side, as we head on to Summoner's Rift for our second series of the day. And you have to say, looking across the matchups here, I'm not entirely sure how Ash Trundle versus Kaiser Leona goes. This is not a lane I've been able to watch the 2v2 of many times, but certainly the mid lane, you have to feel, is probably Aurelia favored. Renekton, I feel like, can have a decent matchup against Gwen, so this could be a reasonably competitive early game.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I think it's about for the Olaf as well to play towards the priority as well. I think he's going to go for a leashlet start, but this start is going to be spotted out by an early ward that has come through from the side of V5. So right now, V5, they have the intel. Oh, I just wanted to see if they went for a larger trade here. It seems like they didn't want to go for it either way. But V5 has the intel that the Olaf is starting towards the bottom side of the map, which means that he will be clearing up towards the top side. And this gives them the intel that you just need to be a bit more careful around that top side of the map once you hit that 3-minute mark.
2v2 in the bottom side. Flash is coming out as Kepler is stuck over the wall, but LWX get 1v1. He flashes behind them. Kepler 1 HP. The first blood goes the way of ZYF here as he chases Crisp out. Level 1 Trundle is not something to mess with.
But this is definitely beneficial from the side of FPX, and the reason for that is that it's LWX that gets the kill. On the side of V5, it's ZYF that picks up the first blood. But also, at the same time, V5's bottom lane wave is pushing into FPX, which means right now, Kepler is actually missing more CS than LWX is. So he's losing XP, he's losing gold, and right now LWX can just pick up the entire wave that was pushed into him.
You know, I'm just realizing now, this might actually be the first time that I have cast V5 all split long. I'm looking through these names and I'm like, I'm not sure I've said that many times. Maybe I did in like week 1 of the split or something like that, but it feels like I haven't really been able to witness that much of the V5 excitement or lack thereof. But hey, we get to see ZYF making a move in the bottom side, playing this Trundle. But as you say, the advantage ultimately probably going to FPX in that matchup. And you can see the CS lead as well going the way of FPX because the wave crashed in their favor. Tian now starting off this top side. Scuttle Crab, you can see PZX moving over towards the bottom side.
But one thing, actually, that did happen that we completely forgot about was that V5 did pick up the first blood. You know, they keep the statistic. So V5, they stay true to what they're good at. They get the first blood for themselves. At least they'll keep their head up tall on that one. And to go back what you said, you might not have casted a lot of V5, but I've had the pleasure, if you can say that, of casting a lot of their games. And the nature of this team is they make it or break it in the early game because they struggle a lot when they get into the mid game if they don't have any resources for themselves. And usually that comes around from PZX when he gets on towards the Sinsao, but obviously that was banned away. So V5 in a position that's definitely already out of their comfort zone with... well, is it really? Actually, the goal is completely even. So honestly, I'm not going to say anything. Yeah. V5, you're looking great. Keep going at it, buddy.
As far as I'm concerned, V5 are a heavy favorite at this point. They managed to get their first blood. That's their one statistic. That's the ray of hope. And they've managed to make it a reality once more. As Tian on the bottom side right now, but he'll be pathing upwards. Just hex splashing on the spot in the middle of the lane. I'm not especially sure that FPX are taking this series all that seriously.
Oh, I genuinely thought he was just going to Hex Slash on top of his head because there literally was no flash on the Ashe there. But I think with the mid lane priority and with the bottom lane priority, either they're trying to set up a dive or they're going to set up Drake. But it seems like they're going for the dive.
Here we go. Dive comes in. No summoners for the bot lane of V5. PZF is taken down already as Crisp moves forward. He's low on HP and he's slowed by the Ashe. Crisp is going to go down here as the kill will be taken. There was an execute on Tian as well, doing bees down here on the Aurelia as well. Maybe he can be chased down, but with a blast cone, I think he'll get out of this one. So ultimately, I guess it was a 1-for-1. Even though 2 of FPX died, one of them was an execute.
I think it's really good pillar placement from the side of ZYF, though. Like, he really put Crisp in a position where it becomes a bit tough afterwards. Crisp forced to tank up the turret, so as soon as he's out of this one, I just think Tian doesn't realize how many times this turret has actually hit Crisp. And if you don't know, the more times the turret hits you, the more damage it's going to deal to you. So you just can't you can't tank turrets forever. A kind of mechanic the Riot included. So as soon as the tower aggro was put onto Tian, that turret just took half of his HP from each shot.
And there's a really important point to add there as well. The ramping damage only resets if it targets a minion. So if it targets a minion in between, you're good to tank tower again. If it doesn't, if you're under tower and you tank it straight off of your teammate, you're probably doomed. So yeah, that's exactly what we got to see. Tian getting absolutely railed by that turret. But hey, gold lead right now, only 200 for FPX. This is actually a pretty good start for V5, and FPX botching that bot lane dive feels pretty good for the side of V5.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the worst situation. You have a lot of waves pushing into you as well, so you can try and equalize on the gold up towards the top side of the map. Nuguri doesn't have flash, so he might get a few visitors.
He's getting 1v1 by Aliez here as PZX moves in, but Tian is here as well. Moonfall comes through. Nuguri, a lot of sustain on the Gwen. He gets a kill. No. This champion is just insane. Tian, though, answers it. And now a 1v1 jungle versus support. And ZYF is not afraid because Doinb moves in. There's a stun. There's the follow-up. There's an undertow. Doinb trying to finish this kill off. But Uniboy's here as well. Doinb has to flash, but gets answered and taken out by Uniboy.
A lot of early game action coming into this one. And, you know, in the end, I think it still favors FPX a little bit. But at the same time, very good response to come through from the side of V5. They finally pick up some gold for themselves, and they doesn't lose all too much. My biggest worry there was if Aliez was going to lose the big minion wave that was pushed into him because of him dying, but that was still picked up by Uniboy. So all in all, they don't actually lose too many resources on the map. But it starts off in a play engaged by the side of V5 in a 2 versus 3 situation. It just seems like V5 kind of forgot that this is 11.14 and Gwen does this. Like, it's just Gwen things. How many times have we come to expect this from this champion? And once again, first push of Rome came in from the side of Doinb as well, so he's just going to be here to be up here in time before the Rise can come through with the Realm Mod. There's not much to it. It's good rotations come through from the side of FPX. My big takeaway is the V5 rotations, the fact that they put their AD carry in the mid lane so they don't lose too many resources either when Kepler, or Uniboy rather, decided to move up.
Well, Nuguri has won a lot of his Gwen games so far. The Herald taken by V5 here, but I'm pretty sure Nuguri just able to stop them taking the eye. PZX is in trouble. Nuguri is just chasing him down the lane here. He will walk away with his life. But FPX, they've just completely denied this. The eye of the Herald disappears before the eyes of V5. And that's a bit of a heartbreaker, Guldborg.
It is, but you know what? To once again give it to our bottom tier teams. They're always better than our top tier teams at getting these Rift Heralds. It's the second time in a row we've seen it. Doinb, wow.
He's styling, but he can't go in. They back away. I thought he was going to go for more there. I was expecting the ult to pop off, but his ult's on cooldown. So I think we were getting a little too excited. Drake is up, though, and there's a lot of priority for FPX.
There is a lot of priority, and I think what they could have done instead of that bottom lane dive we saw earlier, they could have gone for the Drake, started the Drake stacking very early for themselves, but they're out doing FPX things. As soon as they have priority, they will use that to play around Tian, to take away your red buff, to take away the jungle, so he can create a difference for himself there. And this Olaf always has a shutdown for himself. He's been part of 4 of the 5 kills we've had on this map, so Tian, once again, really just enabling his pressure on towards this map, and for once, they are going to be able to pick up this Drake now.
Doinb's moving into the bottom lane, though. They might go for a little bit more than just a Drake here. So they could toy with the idea of a dive. LPX desperate to finish this plate, but he can't quite go for it. The Drake will be taken, though. And Tian can return to clearing out his jungle as he is that Olaf. He clears it real quick. And it does feel like when you look across the scoreboard here, 20 CS lead in the bottom lane, 20 CS lead in the top lane. Tian, sure he doesn't have a CS lead, but he's got 2 kills, so I think we'll give him a pass on that one. It does feel like this gold lead is starting to stack up for FPX, and it's not necessarily down to the kills, it's mostly just down to lane differences.
It genuinely is, and now you can see they're already planning ahead for their next move. They know Rift Herald is going to be the next objective up, the Scuttle as well in less than 1 minute. So you can see from the minimap here, Crisp is actually moving up towards the mid lane as well, with Tian pathing up towards its top side of the map. So I think they just want to be able to get all the resources that they can get on the map as well, to make sure that V5, they're not finding any leverage back into this game.
Oh, they certainly won't be finding any in the near future if FPX have anything to say about it. 1 Drake to FPX. Next Herald coming up. You'd expect in a couple of minutes time here. But I'm keeping my eyes on Doinb in this game. Because, you know, Doinb has had one of the best splits of his entire career. I think arguably the best split of his career. And he's on the new Aurelia, right? This champion, I think, is severely underutilized, severely underplayed. In the right matchup, you can just completely take over the game. And Rise is definitely one of those matchups where you have that all-in potential. Uniboy looking for Tian here, as they'll be able to grab themselves the topside Scuttle Crab here. A lot of pings going towards the mid lane. As V5 grouping up, Kepler has the arrow available. V5 don't have a Herald. I'm a little bit surprised to see them grouping so hard to push this wave in.
Yeah, but it also came from the fact that they just wanted to secure that Scuttle Crab. You can see how many resources was actually put into it. And what they did on the bottom side is that they tried to freeze the waves away from Kepler, then slow push it towards the turret as soon as they saw him towards the mid lane. And this has actually helped give LWX a level advantage. Never mind, I take it back. Kepler did just pick up level 8 for himself, but it's the fact there is still a slight lead due to this wave manipulation we get from the side of FPX at the same time.
Oh no. Oh no, look at this pathing from Tian. Kepler may be in some serious trouble here. ZYF, believing that he's a jungler since he's playing Trundle as he goes and takes a couple of the crooks for himself. But I don't think we see the dive in the end. With PZX there, they can't quite go for it. And Nuguri and Aliez. It feels like constantly toying with the idea of fighting each other. It feels like the observers keep on having to go up top. Kepler with an instant cleanse. Very nicely done there. 3 people onto the tower. Doinb moving over. This is a 4v3, but the wave is cleared out. And FPX have to back away. They just can't seem to get these dives working.
No, they definitely can't. At the same time, in the mid lane, Uniboy, he sees Doinb towards the bottom lane of the map, so he wants to push in the mid lane immediately to make sure that Doinb is losing as many resources as possible. But Doinb, fast back to this one, does get the XP, loses the gold, but all in all, that's good enough for creating the pressure. You burn away the cleanse, that's a huge summoner spell away now from the side of Kepler, and as soon as your Leona ultimate is back up and available, that's another point of attack, and you could just mimic the same play you just had. You push in the mid lane, you move Doinb down, and this time around, Kepler will only have to flash to save him.
Look, I'm gonna say it how it is here. Coming into this one, I'm pleasantly surprised by how well V5 are doing to just maintain this game, right? They're 1,000 gold down, right? They're not winning by any stretch, but at the same time, they are actually answering the pressure from FPX. I kind of expected them to just be absolutely demolished. This is a second place team that's looking for first up against literally the last team in the league that have only won 2 individual games all split long. I think it was a very reasonable expectation to expect FPX to just dominate this game, and so far V5 have done a really good job to temper that aggression and to weather out the storm that FPX are trying to bring.
Completely agree with you. It definitely has felt like this time around V5 didn't just roll over, and just had nothing to play for. While they're not ahead right now, you can still get the sense that this game can still be competitive if FPX drops the ball, because there is still time for that.
Bit of a congestion for the top blue buff. Aliez locked up and just immediately burst on out. Blue goes the way of Crisp. He gets himself a buff as we see a kill in the back line. Doinb in onto everyone though. And LWX there to clean things up. Crisp with a Zenith Blade under the tier 2. Follows the realm walk with a Zenith Blade. I don't think I've ever seen that before. And now a TP to the bottom side from Nuguri as he looks to take a tier 1 while the Herald should be taken by the rest of the squad. And we have ultimates still available, but LWX can just 1v1 the enemy Diana. That is not how AD carry is meant to work.
Oh, definitely not only on one item power spike against the Diana. Oh, it feels bad from PZX on that one, but LWX himself finds it. And now Doinb under attack, Doinb rather, with TP coming in from Uniboy.
Yeah, maybe they can get a root here. PZF trying to move in. Pillar on cooldown at this point. It's Doinb desperately trying to move into the top jungle, and he'll get away with it. V5 decide not to continue the chase. It is only the mid lane TP, so it's not quite as valuable. Nuguri doing this straight. This will be the second of the game for FPX as V5 move up, try and take their, I guess, second Herald. They did technically take the first Herald. They just didn't quite grab the eye.
Yeah, you're completely right about that one. And delayed resets to come through as well. Nuguri doesn't have the TP, so FPX, I don't think he can do anything to actually contest this one. And once again, Munchables, our top teams are dropping the ball around Heralds. It just seems like it's something they struggle to secure.
Yeah, FPX certainly not interested in that one. Let's take another look, because this was pure chaos. Can you try and break this down a little bit?
I mean, I can try for sure. And once again, it's quite classic FPX, though. They do this every time. We saw it in the replays as well in the pre-game today. As soon as the enemy blue buff spawns, they'll try and fight for it. They'll go for the skirmish around this exact moment. And I think it's a huge Vanguard's Age that comes through from the side of Doinb. I just want to look at the center plate. Look at that. He flew so long. Like, what is up with that? That was so nice. I want to look what the cap is. Oh, another team fight. There you go.
More chaos as we come back to live. It's a kill onto PZX. It is just the one. It looked like there might be a little bit more, but Nuguri pushing in the bottom side. LWX in the meantime wasn't even a part of that play. I'm not entirely sure how that started off. Obviously, we missed the context, but that was I think 3v3 between the two teams as Nuguri starts to move up. LWX will finish a tier 1 on the top side. And we're starting to see more of what I was expecting coming into this series, right? The gold lead has increased to 5,000, almost 6,000 at this point, and we're seeing FPX just start to kind of crush V5 out of this game.
It is becoming quite difficult as well. Crisp does have Hack Splash if he wants to attack Uniboy here. And you can see the picture frame as well. There is the replay to come through. They're trying to get a pick on towards the Olaf, and just can't do anything towards it. He's just running straight out of that one, and then as soon as the rest of the team joins the fight, nothing, realistically speaking, to do. Doinb, once again, finding an insane flawless duet on that stun as well, getting 2 people with it. I think it's the second time we've seen him do it today.
Yeah, really, really clean Aurelia play coming out from Doinb, and it's good to see. It's good to see these different picks. And I feel like today we get a unique opportunity to watch our top teams kind of just flex a little bit, right? We get to, well, you know, Suning arguably a top team. I think they still need to prove that yet when we get to playoffs on whether or not they count as a top team. But certainly FPX here kind of showing us why they are at the top of the table, and also why V5 are down at the bottom. It's going to be a 6,000 gold lead as Crisp tries to get some vision, but he's pillared up and maybe won't be able to escape. Subjugation, I don't think was used just yet. So Crisp still tanky for the time being. Drake not up for another 2 minutes, but FPX just trying to gain as much control, as much advanced vision as possible.
They definitely are, and you know, this 2 minutes, realistically speaking, to the next objective will spawn on the map as well. But what the FPX needs to do at this point in time is just wait out the camp timers as well. You can see already now, 1 minute until V5 blue buff spawn. I guarantee you, when that has spawned, that there is some form of control from XPX to secure that objective as well. It's one of FPX's favorite thing to do, is just try and secure your buffs and take them away from you. You can already see the setup now from Crisp and the rest of them. As soon as they have priority, they make sure that they can use it to the full extent. Doinb might get caught off in the mid lane though.
He's going to be stunned. A pillar, but Vanguard's edge across the team. In he goes onto the back line immediately. Kepler flashes out, though. Doinb somehow survives this one. Crisp on the front line. Tian here to try and protect his support. And now the re-engage from FPX. Tian moving forwards. It's going to be another two-man stop for Doinb, but he went way too deep. Or did he? Gourd Drinker keeps him alive for a second as he falls. And now it's Nuguri's turn to jump into the middle of 5 people. Needlework will do exactly that. A lot of needle work in this one. But can't quite finish the kills off. Drake coming up in 50 seconds, and V5, all things considered, they won the fight.
They do, and now they come in with the Rift Herald. They bring it in with... Oh no, they messed up the timing. Oh, no.
It's all gone wrong, Guldborg.
I don't know what to do.
I don't know what to say, man.
Oh, they still got it. They still got it. They're 2-5 hurt. They're 2-5 hurt. They just...
Okay. I mean, FPX get the Baron. I don't really don't know what to say. Like, they missed the Herald with the Realm Warp, and then the re-engage from FPX, and the fight falls apart. It's a bit of a tragedy for V5. FPX grabbed themselves a Baron. And guess what? They've got a Drake as well. They're going to be on Soul Point with Baron buff. Yeah. Guldborg, I think it might be over.
I think it's definitely a tough one going into this one. And we've already said it. Oh, do we get a replay of the Realm Up? Oh, I really wanted to see that again, though. Really unfortunate they mess up the timing with that Realm Up, and then the rest of the fight. Well, they don't have any disengage with the Realm Up. They don't have anything to run away with. And as soon as the members of V5 go down, it's super easy for FPX to just set up the Baron buff. And as you said yourself, now with this Baron buff, they're just going to be able to put themselves on Soul Point. They're going to be able to steal away all of their remaining camps that V5 currently has in their jungle. And they're going to just be setting up 2 lanes right now. I'm imagining they're pushing down the mid lane wave, and then you see LWX towards the bottom they can collapse on afterwards. So it's just textbook now from FPX.
And it feels like these kinds of games for FPX are just great opportunities to practice how to optimally close out the game, right? How to end things fast, how to play the map correctly and deny as much as possible. Crisp and Tian could be in trouble, but V5 grouped as a 5. And that means that the tier 2 in this bottom side will be going down. LWX already hammering away, and Tian moves over to help out. And now you see V5 move towards the bottom side to try and answer this wave. You'll see FPX start to push in the mid lane at the same time. LWX getting some damage onto that tower. But Tian, even though he's pillared, not actually tanking. You can see FPX took the tier 2 in the mid lane. Now they're looking for a little bit more. The Crystalline Arrow only hit onto Crisp. Maybe it's a kill, though. The subjugation to finish it off. ZYF getting one. I feel like there's been a few of these situations where V5 find individual picks. They can't quite find the individual pick on LWX, though. He's on the wrong side of the pillar. And FPX, it doesn't look like they're actually done. Even though this is a 4v5, they're still kind of sticking around. LWX will recall, though. That should spark the end of the play from FPX. So, hey, I was criticizing V5. I was saying they were falling apart here, but they consistently are getting these picks.
Getting a pick, Chris screwing up the tower dive.
Look,
I mean, you're being very gentle right now, but I think that was definitely Chris.
Bad.
Yeah. We gave them the first blood. Come on, I feel like we've given them the clear strength of V5 here, which obviously is their first blood. Every time you have a V5 game, you come for the first blood. That is all you're here to watch, really. But honestly, it's tough because FPX in a position like that, even if they don't close out the games with this Baron buff, they're still close to almost 10k. They're 8k ahead right now. They're going to be having the Ocean Soul spawn up in less than 3 minutes. There's going to be another Baron. It kind of just feels hard to find the way for V5 that they'll get back into this one because they're so far behind in their items as well. Doinb is on his way to the 3rd, while in the mid lane, Uniboy haven't even finished the 2nd item. So it is rough times on the Rift for V5.
An even harsher example in the AD carries as well. LWX has finished 3 items plus boots. Kepler is on 1.5 at this point. There's a 3,500 gold difference between the AD carries individually right now. But I will say, top lane, items are pretty even. Aliez has 2 kills, whereas Nuguri only has 1 kill. So who's the better top laner, I ask you? I'll let chat decide that one, and we'll say nothing more on the topic before we start insulting players. Now the pressure on the top side as Doinb starts to push in mid lane. Without the Baron, though, this does feel a little bit more difficult for FPX.
Even with the Baron, I think FPX needs to realize that their composition is about forcing pressure onto multiple lanes. They don't have good siege right now. They have a team composition where you can play for Gwen and Aurelia in the side lane, and then they have the team fight they can play for. So you can't just force anything under the tower. You kind of need to spread out the members of FPX to make sure that V5 is going to respond to that spread out, and then they're just going to be losing because they're so far behind. So that's what you want to do as FPX. You want to spread the members out of V5.
Try and divide and conquer, as it were. But there's a really good opportunity to do exactly that in 1 minute and 22 seconds, because that is when the next Ocean Drake will spawn. And FPX, already with 3 Drakes, it would be an Ocean Soul. And, you know, if these fights weren't hard enough already for V5, an Ocean Soul will certainly add a lot of sustain to the side of FPX and kind of make things impossible. V5 getting choked out at this point is the entire jungle belongs to FPX as well. It's almost a 10,000 gold lead as we broach the 25-minute mark here. And LWX will finish off this tier 2 in the top side, or not because of a realm warp, but a solar flare to answer it. They've realm warped into their own destruction. The dive from Tian. Aliez trying to cause havoc in the backline, but he just doesn't have the damage at this point as Crisp goes back under the tower. Once more, the tower falls. Crisp flashes out, and Doinb wants a little bit of action for himself. It's a double kill for the Viking as they charge into the base here. Great Gore Drinker, bit of sustain from V5, but LWX finishes off another. Nobody even going down for FPX, but as I say it, LWX gets out AD carried by Kepler, and it's Nuguri in to try and finish these kills off. But Aliez manages to dodge away from the needlework. It doesn't matter. FPX still win the fight, and with Drake coming up, it's feeling real good for the Phoenixes.
Yeah, and you know what, Tian, he played that fight so well on the Olaf as well. The fact that he was able to find kills under the turret, immediately flashing back on towards Uniboy and force him away as well. I think he did remarkable on that champion, and we'll have to replay again. But what this replay means as well is that a lot of these members that's going now for V5 are not going to be able to be there for the contestation of the Ocean Soul that's going to spawn. And there we see it. Tian flashing onto the turret, or going onto the turret, flashing onto Uniboy, hitting the double undertow again to set up Crisp, and he just continuously keeps to run them down. Hit PZX again, and now in the picture, you can see that Soul has been started up here, and it is going to be FPX trying to secure it.
They're already taking it. The Soul has already gone. Kepler having to cleanse against the Solar Flare, but I tell you, Solar Flare, much shorter cooldown than cleanses at this point in the game. Nuguri, you're playing with fire there, my friend. I think he actually considered going in for that one as Doinb was on the flank as well. But they'll back away. FPX not really known for massive overextensions this split. It feels like this is one of the teams that are very good at recognizing that they're pushing too far, backing off, going for something like a Baron instead. That's exactly what they'll do here.
Yeah, they will. And they have the Ocean Soul. They have to set up multiple pink wards scattered across the area to make sure nothing's going to happen. And there you go. That's the Baron, and that's LWX going in.
Oh dear, that's LWX just 2v1ing as he gets a kill onto the mid laner. I love watching LPL AD carries playing Kai'Sa. They play it like they are a mid laner. They play it like it's a Silas or something. Just dive into the backline and try and one-shot someone. And now, with Uniboy out of the picture, there are no Realm Warp shenanigans available for V5, and it means FPX can be so much more confident in their push. Mid lane inhib will fall. They can move up to the top side as well, or they can get a stun down as they jump into the backline. Kepler solar flared once more. No cleanse this time, and it goes down to Doinb. A double on the Aurelia. Aliez would love to get onto the fountain, but I don't think it's happening. But then again, Gore Drinker exists, so maybe it is. But with the Ocean Soul, nobody from FPX will fall. The Phoenix takes game number 1 as they look to fight for first seed. It's 1-0 here in their second to last series.
Yeah, the fire keeps going for FPX, but quite honestly speaking, Munchables, you gotta give it to V5. They stuck into this game for quite some time. They were competitive for, well, majority of the early game where they weren't quite even. No, it never felt like they had the ball or they initiated the plays. but it still felt like they weren't completely run over from the side of FPX, which we kind of did expect. So I think V5, they defended themselves better than we would have expected coming into this one. Now it's about how do we find a point of attack. Well, that's a whole nother story that V5 has been struggling with the entire split. So FPX just, they're just so good as well at the same time. Like, they make everything work every time for them.
I mean, just look at LWX's damage rate, 24,000. That's almost 1,000 damage per minute. That is absolutely insane. Really, really impressive performance coming out from FPX. And, you know, I agree. V5 did a good job of trying to fend off the place, especially in the very early stages of the game. But the thing is, those later stages, we saw lots of fights where it would be like 1-for-1 or whatever. But FPX were in such an advantageous position on the map that 1-for-1 was fine for them. They'd get 1-for-1 plus a turret, 1-for-1 plus a Drake, 1-for-1 plus a Baron, right?
Yeah.
A 1-for-1 trade isn't really a 1-for-1 trade in those situations.
And you know, you're right. It was like that from the get-go as well. Remember, V5 did actually pick up the first blood, but immediately the first blood goes to the support. Kepler misses out on the wave, while LWX picked a kill up for himself. He get the entirety of the wave as well, and the XP advantage. So it's just, every time it goes well for V5, in a sense you would think it would, it just goes even better from the side of FPX. And that is one of their core strengths as well in their setups. They are the one who's creating these plays. So from the side of V5, maybe something where you get to pull the trigger a bit harder than you did this game, because it just felt like every time that a play was initiated, it was FPX that did it, and V5, they had to play on the back foot of it.
It did feel like very reactive play from V5.
Yes.
And honestly, coming into game number 2, you're against FPX. I don't think you're going to win the safe game. I think you just flip it. I want to see action in game 2. I want to see V5 just bring it to FPX, see if you could just get some outplays going. We'll see if that is their plan right after the break.
不当职业选手，我肯定是不知道。
不做职业选手嘛，就暂时想不到，因为小时候也在玩游戏嘛，就还没想到其他的。
这都没想过。当职业选手前没什么梦想，就喜欢打游戏。
小时候也是想玩游戏，所以我是觉得差不多。
小时候想的是比较快乐吧，因为喜欢打游戏，然后边打游戏边拿工资嘛。
我不当职业选手，我想要在家里每天睡觉。
哦，忘记了，好像我记得是医生。
小时候想当个数学家。
其实我小时候的唯一的一个梦想就是打职业。哇哦！但现在如果我不当职业选手，我可能会去创业什么的。
厨师。
Do it！
小时候在上学吧，然后挺喜欢玩篮球。
如果不当职业选手的话，应该不会从事电竞行业吧，就应该会从事体育行业，可能打篮球啊什么的。
其实挺多的吧，我有在学钢琴，之前对。
如果不打职业的话，可能就去学画画什么的。
演员吧。
不当职业选手，最近这2天看那些 vlog 吧，看的比较多，感觉自己也可以去拍一下。对，当那种游戏的 UP 主，
像那个 icon 那种。
I don't know what this is, but it's kind of hot.
他那个是潮流 UP 主，我游戏 UP 主。
是应该是要不玩其他游戏，要不当教练嘛。
不当选手，可能当教练。
应该在读书吧，到后面我也不知道会变成什么职业，可能还是会从事电竞相关的。
如果一开始不打职业的话，我应该搬砖吧。如果不做职业选手，当初可能现在在某个厂里吧，
打工。
没想过这个问题。
我的人生很迷茫。
我不知道，